Hey guys, Dan Fresh here with another Evo 10 review, and I just wanted to go over my take on full bolt-ons. Now, full bolt-ons to me is just stuff that you can attach to the stock setup, not opening the motor or swapping out the turbo. So it's just be intake, exhaust, a tune, intercoolers, stuff like that. Just basic bolt-on stuff. And this is my way of doing it on a budget. And it seems that my dyno numbers have been as consistent as anybody who's spent the money on the expensive parts. Now, if you have the money, go buy the expensive stuff because obviously it's going to look better. You'll be more respected in the car community, and it's always just nice to have quality stuff. It's always cool to have. As far as people who don't have the money to do it, this is my take on how to do it on a budget. So I'm going to start off one by one. I'll probably get a lot of flack for this video because some people will probably think I'm doing it wrong or what have you, but my numbers have been good. I've been running this setup for a couple years now, and the car runs great, and I've had very little issues. So let's get started. Um, First is the intake setup. Now I have a 3-inch cone filter on a parent intake or inlet tube. The reason I did this is because I bought the parts used. Now that's one other thing I wanted to go over before I really get into this is you can always buy stuff used and get the high-end stuff that way. But if you want to buy new, which I didn't do, but I'll explain the new way to do it on new parts, because it's just nice to have the brand new parts that aren't used. But I went used and I bought stuff on deals, so I'm going to go over that in the video. Well, first off, I went with the 3-inch K&N filter that you can buy at an O'Reilly's or auto parts store. Reason being is because it makes the whoosh noise from the bypass valve up here, and I just really like the sound. And then I bought a K&N heat shield that just somebody had on eBay. It comes from the K&N kit, and it was just on eBay. It keeps the heat out of the intake, so I just thought I'd buy it and retrofit it to make it work. And then it just has the stock snorkel. And then I have the Perrin inlet tube. I bought it used. I got a really good deal on it, and that's the only reason I bought it. Now, my take on doing it, if you wanted to buy new parts on a budget and you don't care about the whoosh noise, which you can do my method if you like, it's going to cost about the same. But if you don't care, the stock box is good up to 500 horsepower, is what I'm told. Maybe even more. I could be wrong, it could be less, but nonetheless, it benches fine. And you can put a Cosworth filter in it, and it'll flow really good. You can go with other filters, but they're all about the same price. And from what I've seen online and what I'm told by tuners, is that the Cosworth flows the best. So that's just the one that I would go with, being that it's going to be about the same price as any other one. The inlet tube, if you're going to go new, I would go with the Depot Racing one. It's going to be the same quality as the Cobb one or the Perrin one or whatever other ones are out there. It's floor ply silicone. It doesn't have a brand logo on it, so it's not flashy. Like I said, most of the stuff I'm going to go over is not flashy, but it works just as well. So that's a good way to get a cheap intake. You're going to spend maybe about $100 on everything, and you'll have a full intake that'll work just as good as anything else on the market. Once again, this is my take on it, and my car is dynoing just as good as any other car out there. I do not have the filter that I'm talking about, but I couldn't see it being any worse than the setup I have now. As far as intercooler piping goes, I got the matte performance one, and because it was on sale, is really the only reason I bought it. And ended up costing the same as the cheapest one in the market, and I just like the look of it, so that's why I bought it. You can get the Depot Racing one. It would be the one I recommend because it's mandrel bent, it's got coating on it, it's made out of good material, and to me a tube is a tube is a tube as long as, like I said, it's mandrel bent and it's made out of decent material. I don't think you're going to see anything outrageously better just because you spent a couple more $100 on a tube. So that's my take on it. But yeah, the Depot Racing one, it comes in two pieces. You have to buy this portion and this portion, and you can replace it, and it's really easy bolt-on stuff. Now down to the intercooler. I did spend extra money, or not really extra money because I bought it used, but I did go for the AMS intercooler. This is a part of the car that I would suggest not cheaping out on. I think that an intercooler is something pretty hardcore, as far as parts go in the car, just because you want it to flow properly, you want it to last, you want it to not rust and fall apart. And this is a part of the car that's going to be exposed a lot. And I really think that it's worth spending the extra money on a higher end one like AMS, ETS, other ones out there that are high end. And so I suggest if you're not going to buy new and you're on a budget, get a used one. I wouldn't spend the money on on like a depot racing one in this case, just because I from what I understand is it's good to have a good flowing intercooler. Now I can't speak for those other ones and say they're necessarily bad, but all I hear around the community as far as tuners go is that you want to get a good intercooler. So that's what I did. I do have a lower intercooler pipe, and I just bought it because I had a couple extra bucks, and I just wanted to feel like I had everything on there. But you don't really need it. The stock one will do fine with the stock turbo setup. If you go big turbo, yes, you want to replace it. But as far as stock turbo goes, the lower intercooler pipe stock is fine. You do want to get a boost controller for tuning properly. I went with the Grim Speed one. It's not really going to matter which one you go with. They have Cobb and what have you, and they work just fine. I got this one because it was on sale for $90, so I bought it. But yeah, boost controller, they're all going to be relatively the same price. And that's an electronic boost controller, which is the one I recommend going with for tuning. You probably can't see very well, but I have a eBay downpipe. Now, the eBay downpipe does not come with the O2 housing. It's just the second portion of the downpipe, so the bottom half. And there's no reason to get a full downpipe from what I understand, unless you go 85 or big turbo, because the O2 housing isn't going to flow any better for 91 octane on full bolt-ons than it will for an aftermarket one or what have you. But I hear if you go E85, you do want to go with it. Now, if you go with a full downpipe, I would go with something that costs a little more money. I wouldn't go with a cheap one. So AMS, ETS, once again, is what I would go with. I wouldn't go with the cheap one. But for a half downpipe, I went with an eBay one. It was like $80 online, and it works just fine. Been running it for 2 years now, haven't had any issues. And once again, I dynoed at the same numbers that I've seen every other full bolt-on car dyno at, and it's cheap and usable. As far as exhaust goes, I'm not going to show you that today just because I've already showed in my older videos what it looks like, and I don't want to crawl into the car, but I have the Manzo USA exhaust, and it's the cheapest way to go. I don't have annual smog laws here, so I don't have to get the car smogged, and I don't care about how loud it is, and the cops around here don't seem to care either. So I've just been running a full straight pipe Manzo USA exhaust, no cat, no nothing, and it seems to work great. It's super loud. Yes, it does drone like crazy, but this is my weekend car, and I really don't care. So, but if you are gonna buy a high flow cat, I recommend once again go with something expensive, just because that's a part that you don't want to fail. You don't want it to clog. You want it to flow properly. You want it to last. You want it to do its job properly. So go with, once again, AMS, ETS. I'm sure there's other brands out there I'm missing, but go with the high-end one. Don't go with something cheap because you don't want it to fail. That's a part you don't want to fail. As far as catback goes, that's kind of on you. The Manzo one, super affordable. I think I spent for the test pipe and the catback was like $500. You really can't beat that price. But if you're looking for something quieter, go with whatever you like. If you want a single tip, if you want a certain type of tip. I mean, so catback, that's really up to the buyer what you want to do. But if you're looking for budget mine, the Manzo or something in that league, because once again, as long as it's manual brent, the quality of the metal is good. A tube is a tube is a tube. I guess if you're looking at mufflers and resonators and whatnot, there is quality differences there. But for me, louder the better, so that's what I did. So yeah, this is my full bolt-on setup. I did get tuned by 5150 Racing originally on this setup. It made about 365 to the wheels. That's dyno jet numbers. It made like 330 on Mustang, but they said converted was like about 365, and it runs great. It's not flashy, it's not showy, it doesn't look the best, but it works. I don't lift my hood that much, so I don't really care. And I'm not really one of those flashy guys, but I mean, down the line, if I have money, sure, I'll go for the expensive parts, but as of right now, I'm fine with this. It makes great power. It runs with everybody else out there, and it's just a good bang for the buck setup. Um, I am retuned by Road Race Engineering. Recommend both shops that I'm talking about. They're both located in Southern California. Road Race was a lot more responsive online wise. Road 5150, they're responsive, but they only really want to deal with you in person from what I got out of it, just because they don't do a whole lot of remote location stuff, and that might be something they're dipping into. I'm not sure at this time, but Road Race, I talked to Rick, can't say good enough things. He's just a great guy, super responsive, got all my questions answered, retuned it for the fuel up here, which was the main reason I retuned. It did not, the old tune did not like the fuel from up here, so I needed to redo it, and I mapped it on the fuel up here, and he did it from a remote location. I did it off my laptop, did a couple runs for him, and he just remapped it again, did a couple more runs, one just kind of rinse and repeat, and he finally got the tune perfect after a couple runs. Car runs great. I don't know if it made more power or if it makes less just because of the fuel, but it seems to run very strong. I have a couple other friends around here with Evo 10s, and when we go to the drag strip, I either pull on them or we go dead even, and that's the guys with the stock turbos, and they've even sprung for the more expensive parts, and sometimes I even beat them. I think that comes down to driver, obviously, but as far as acceleration goes, we seem to be on par with each other. If not, you know, I pull a little harder. That just might be coming down to your tuner and how well he can tune. But as far as pure acceleration goes, this seems to hold with the best of them at full bolt-ons. Now, I can't speak for anybody who's gone internals and done bigger turbos. That's a different world, and I haven't dipped into that yet. But as far as full bolt-ons go, this is the best bang for the buck package. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Please give me a thumbs up if you like the video and share with your friends. If you need me to do any other videos on what I have going on with the car, please let me know and I'll be glad to make those videos. Thanks guys, have a great day, and I hope this helped with your build.